Hello everybody, this is Mommy with Flowers by the Bunch. Today we are going to make a very non-traditional arrangement using a beautiful nativity. So this is Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus, and we are actually going to tuck it into an all greenery arrangement. Now I am using one of my favorite containers. This is a milk glass, I would call it a fruit compote. It's just a round bowl on top of a stand. One of my favorites. It makes such a lovely arrangement. I'm going to start out with some fresh floral foam, and my foam has been soaked first. It's always important you soak your foam first. So I'm going to take my floral knife and I'm going to cut that foam and just tuck that right down into my container. Now I am going to take a little bit of tape and I am going to tape that foam into place. Now I just don't want it to topple out. I don't want my arrangement to topple out, so I am going to tape that foam in place. All right, so you can see I just crisscrossed that tape right over that foam. Now I'm going to take my nativity and I'm going to sit it right on top. Now, let me say this. This arrangement will be for my home. It will go on my table. So I am not going to work hard to make sure that my nativity doesn't fall out. It's just going to sit on top. I'm going to design the greens around it, and then I will pull him out to travel with it, and I will put him back in when I am ready to, when I get it to the place that it's going. Okay, so I have my foam in place. It's taped in. I am going to take a little bit of Spanish moss. Now, Spanish moss is going to cover my mechanics. So you can't see my foam. I'm just going to take and tuck that Spanish moss right into that container all the way around. Just kind of tuck that right in. That's just going to help me cover that foam. I just don't want the foam to show. Now, if you don't have Spanish moss, it's not a big deal. You don't have to use it. But I just always like to cover those mechanics. Now, one thing I will say about Spanish moss is it's kind of messy. So be careful when working with it. It's just going to make a little bit of a mess. Next, we're going to start with some Christmas greens. This is called Leland Cyprus. It's a beautiful, beautiful evergreen. Now, we ordered all of these evergreens from Budsy, the company that I order my fresh flowers from. And it's just so pretty. Leland Cyprus, I'm sure you can plant them in Mississippi, but they don't grow wild. So I don't get to use it unless I order it. I'm going to take and cut a small branch off. I'm going to strip off the bottom needles, and I am going to poke that right into my floral foam. Now I am using a pair of scissors to cut those stems, and it's just strictly because with my knife it's hard to cut those woody stems, so I'm just using a pair of scissors. I'm just taking each stem and I'm stripping off the bottom foliage and sticking that right down into my foam. Now let me say, it smells lovely, but it gets your hands a little sticky with the sap. So just a warning that it's going to get you a little sticky. Most of the time evergreens do though. They get you kind of sticky. So you can see I'm just going to go all the way around my nativity with my greens. All right, I'm going to take one more piece, I think. doesn't just break. You have to have some snips. Scissors. All right, so there's our Leland cypress. Next we will come in with a little bit of pine. So this is called short needle pine, just pretty pine. I'm gonna do the same thing, just kind of cut it in smaller pieces and nestle that all the way around. Now, the wonderful part about this arrangement is every bit of this greenery you can go out and cut. And it doesn't have to be this variety by any means, but it's basically going to be the exact same arrangement, just using things that are available to you. You can also take and use artificial greens, which is always so nice because you can reuse this again next year very easily. Now, if I'm at home and I'm making an arrangement for me using artificial stuff, I never glue it in. And let me tell you why. Because I may want to take that apart and rearrange it next year, and I don't want it all stuck in there. Now, of course, if I'm making an arrangement for a client, I'm certainly going to glue it together. But at home, I like to be able to pull that apart and try something new next year. I never, hardly ever do the same decorations every year. Now, of course, they are the same decorations, but they're never designed the same. I would usually just pull an arrangement. Say if I was doing this in artificial, I would pull it apart and I would do it again next year. Okay, so there's our pretty pine that I've tucked in. Next, we're going to come in with some eucalyptus. Now, I truly love eucalyptus. I don't know about you, I'm just dropping my greens back down into a bucket. But eucalyptus to me is pretty for any occasion, and certainly for winter. This does have a water source. I'm going to fill the reservoir so that my greens will last longer. Now, this is called Willow eucalyptus, and you can see it kind of has the pointy leaves. Now, it reminds me a lot of a weeping willow. I don't know if you've ever seen one growing, but they grow and they just drip with this beautiful foliage. The leaves are usually a little smaller than this willow eucalyptus, but it is so pretty, one of my favorites. It reminds me of my grandmama's house when I was a little girl. She had a weeping willow out by the garage. They had a detached garage. And that weeping willow would just drip with all of those branches. And I can remember my sister and I going out and dancing under the weeping willow because of all the branches that kind of dripped down. And you felt like little fairies. That's silly, I know, but it was fun. A good memory. And so this willow eucalyptus is such a lovely addition to this arrangement, I think. I love its color also. But you could certainly go and cut nandina if you had nandina outside. You could really cut anything that might be an evergreen. But see how simple? This is such a simple arrangement. It does not take a whole lot of design skill to make a lovely arrangement with all greenery. All right, there's our willow eucalyptus all the way around. All right, next we're going to use some baby blue or spiral eucalyptus. Now, when you think of the fragrance, the smell of eucalyptus, this is the type of eucalyptus you're thinking of. It has a beautiful, very eucalyptus smell. Now, you need to, it's kind of like the evergreens that I just worked with. It does have a sticky sap, and it gets your fingers kind of sticky, so you kind of have to be careful with that. I am pulling off some of the tips of the greenery, and the reason is because it is the tips tend to be a little tender and they may get dark, so I just pull those tips that don't look pretty right off. I'm stripping off any of the leaves that might fall below a water line or get in the way of me putting them in the foam. And you can see with each new greenery, I am just adding it throughout the arrangement, just kind of going all the way throughout the arrangement. The nice part about this arrangement also, y'all, is it will last for so long. So long. Okay, next we're going to come in with a few magnolia leaves. Now, you don't have to use the entire piece of magnolia. You can absolutely pop off some of those leaves and tuck the leaves down deep into that foam. Just press those right down into the foam. Now, magnolia is something that grows very well here in Mississippi. The magnolia is our flower, our state flower, and it grows so lovely. Now, this magnolia has the dark brown on the back of the leaves, which I think is so pretty. It reminds you a lot of velvet. It's really kind of a little soft velvety on the back of the leaves. But you can see how I'm just individually tucking the leaves themselves in. I'm kind of caught up in that moss. Now you could add pine cones, you could add ribbon. You can really add whatever you would like to this arrangement. If you wanted to, if you liked little twinkle lights, you could add some battery operated lights. I really like it to be a little more natural. Just kind of this pretty natural look. But there you go. Look how simple yet beautiful this arrangement is. It does sit on the pedestal. I think it would be beautiful on a table. It would be beautiful on a coffee table or even a buffet table. But very simple yet very lovely. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. If you have any questions about how we do things at Flowers by the Bunch, you can always ask. Just drop it here in the comments, send it over to our email. We are so happy to answer your questions. If you enjoyed this video, and I sure hope you did, give us a thumbs up. That helps us to be seen. If you haven't followed us on this channel, be sure to hit that follow button right down below. If you'll hit the bell, it'll give you notifications for when we have a brand new video. Thanks, guys. See you soon.